Since Pokemon was first released, we've been blessed with a bunch of regions, and within those regions we've been gifted with legendary Pokemon that are much stronger than your ordinary day-to-day ones. However though, with all of those legendaries that have been released, which is the worst leading up to which is the best? Well, in today's video I'm going to be ranking every single legendary Pokemon from the worst to the best. Now this is going to be a long video, so I'm not going to be going into each Pokemon stats and movesets and everything like that. Just going to be a quick overview of each legendary Pokemon and why it's on this place in the list. Now of course this is all my own opinion at the end of the day, and it's completely cool if you guys disagree with what I say in the video. Don't hesitate though to drop a comment down below about the video and if you found it interesting or not. Don't forget to leave a like on this video too to show your support, and I'll be sure to bring out a new video very shortly. Make sure to subscribe if you haven't already to keep up to date, and follow my Twitter to updates about the channel. Both of those links can be found in the description down below. Now without further ado, let's get into the video, and I really hope that you guys enjoy. So starting off this list and being the worst legendary Pokemon in my opinion has to be Cosmog. Yes, Cosmog does have evolutions down the road, but it is a legendary Pokemon in itself, and we all know why Cosmog is bad. It has awful stats, it has a dreadful move pool, and there's just nothing that this Pokemon really has going for it. And yes, it does evolve like I say, but as a Cosmog, it's pretty bad. Coming up next on the list, we have Cosmoem, the evolution of Cosmog. Now, whilst this Pokemon does get better defenses, it still really can't do any damage whatsoever. Its move pool is absolutely atrocious, and yes, as I said, its defenses do get better, but its stats on the other side of things just don't really increase that much, which is why Cosmoem is a pretty bad legendary at the end of the day. Next up, we have Zygarde's 10% form. I do understand that Zygarde is a Pokemon in its complete form, but it still has these different forms leading up to it, and in this video I'm going to try and include every single form. Hopefully I don't miss any out. But yes, Zygarde 10% form is a pretty good Pokemon, but it doesn't have anything on any of the legendary Pokemon that are out there, and it's just a nice little legendary in itself. It's a nice little kind of part of Zygarde, but that's really what it is. So yeah, that's why Zygarde 10% form is a pretty bad legendary. Coming up next, we have Regice. Now, Regice is an okay Pokemon. It has pretty good defenses, but that's all it really has going for it. It can't really do much damage to anything, and it has a pretty bad typing in Ice as well. But yeah, Regice, not the greatest legendary Pokemon out there. Coming up after Regice is of course another one of the Regi trio, being Regirock. Again, just like Regice, this Pokemon can hit relatively hard and it has decent defenses on the physical side, but again, Regirock just doesn't have anything on any other legendary Pokemon, which is why it is so far down in this list. Next up, we have the third Regi trio. Yes, not a lot of love shown to the Regis in this video, but it is Registeel, and Registeel is the, the better of these other two in my opinion. It's got a better typing. Steel typing is a very good typing. It's got nice stats across the board. Like I say, can't hit super hard, but it's pretty bulky and, has got a good typing, which is why Registeel is better than the other two in my opinion. Coming up next, we have Type Null. Now, Type Null wasn't actually known to be a legendary until Game Freak themselves released it. But yes, Type Null is a legendary Pokemon, but again, it's just not as good as the other legendaries out there. Plus, the normal typing isn't great as well, not being super effective against anything. So yeah, that's why Type Null is so far down on this list. Coming up next, we have Regigigas, and yes, another Regi Pokemon that is not great at all, and that is because of the ability Slow Start. We all know the horrible, effects of Slow Start, having that halved attack and speed for 5 whole turns. I always believe that that's a little bit too much. I feel like it should be 3 max. 5 is way too much. You can do so much damage in 5 turns. Like, yes, when Regigigas does get those 5 turns up, he's good, but until then, he's not really useful. So, which is why Regigigas is pretty low on this list. Coming up next, we have Articuno. Now, Articuno was a pretty good Pokemon in Generation 1, one of the better Pokemon in Generation 1 actually, but since then, Stealth Rocks and other things have really pushed it down in the tiers, and whilst I do like the Pokemon a lot, to be fair, it's not great in the competitive scene, which is why Articuno is this far down in the list. Next up, we have Moltres, and again, the same mistakes were made with this Pokemon, being fire and flying, having that 4 times weak to rock. Stealth Rocks is having a great day at the office when you go up against Moltres, which is one of the reasons this Pokemon does, have a low tier setting. But yes, Moltres is not a great legendary Pokemon, which is why it is in this place in the list. Coming up next, we have Silvally. Now, a lot of you guys may disagree with my placing of Silvally this far down in the list, but at the end of the day, yes, it's got pretty good stats, but it doesn't really have anything too good. Yes, it has a good move pool and everything like that, but it does again have the normal typing, which isn't great. And I know Arceus has the normal typing, but Arceus has an incredible stat total and a great move pool as well. And I know you can obviously change the different discs and stuff like that to make the Arceus system that typing, but at the end of the day, it's not super good, which is why Steel Valley, in my opinion, should be this far down on the list. Coming up next, we have the Lake Guardian Mesprit. Now, Mesprit is a good Pokemon. It's got the best of both worlds. You know, it's got all the stats kind of similar across the board. It's a good Pokemon. You know, I've not got anything wrong with Mesprit. It's just not as good as any of the other legendaries on this list, which is why it does take this spot in today's video. Next up, we have another Lake Guardian in Uxie, the bulkier of the three. Now, Uxie is very, very good for taking those hits, don't get me wrong. It can do a lot of good things with Uxie. You can take, like I said, a lot of hits. You can definitely set up and stuff like that with Uxie, and it's a good day at the office when you do. But yeah, like I say, Uxie is pretty good with the bulk, but again, there's much better, bulkier legendaries out there. Next up, we have the third Lake Guardian, and this is a Zelf. Now, a Zelf is just here for me because it is the offensive of the three, and I just prefer, you know, offense more than defense. So some of you guys might prefer defensive, but I'm more of an offensive person, and that is why a Zelf is better than the other two in my opinion. Has very, very good stats across the board, and like the attack stats and the speed as well. Not the greatest defense, but of course that's what Uxie's taken from the party. But yeah, Zelf is a good Pokemon at the end of the day, has a really good move pool, and yeah, a Zelf is a good Pokemon. Coming up next, we have Zapdos. Now, Zapdos is a good Pokemon. Again, the Stealth Rocks isn't great, but it only takes 25%, whereas the other two Legendary Birds do take the whole 50%. So that doesn't really have a great situation with Zapdos. But at the end of the day, Zapdos still hits really hard. It's got some bulk to it. Has a really, really cool, you know, like I say, stat total. So yeah, big fan of Zapdos. Next up, we have Zygarde's 50% form, the next part of the Zygarde puzzle. Now, Zygarde 50% form is a pretty good Pokemon. It was cool in Kalos. Been annoyed that it never was available to Shiny Hunt. Of course, we are getting the event in June, which is allowing us to get that Shiny Zygarde. But at the end of the day, that Dragon ground typing isn't great for taking Ice type attacks, and they can't really do anything about it, you know, so it's pretty slow and stuff like that. So yeah, that's why Zygarde 50% form is this far down on the list. Coming up next is a Swords of Justice known as Virizion. Now, Virizion is this far down the list because of its typing. Grass fighting is okay. Cannot take a flying type move to save its life though. And it has quite a few weaknesses as well, like Psychic and Fire and everything like that. It's just not great for Virizion. And yeah, there's just better legendary Pokemon than this Swords of Justice, unfortunately for this Pokemon. Next up, we have another Swords of Justice, but this time it is Cobalion. Now, Cobalion has a very, very nice typing in Steel and Fighting. Big fan. And it hits hard as well. It's a good Pokemon across the board. And, you know, we are kind of like getting to the halfway point of this list now. You know, slowly but surely. So, yeah, the Pokemon will gradually get better. But, yeah, Cobalion is a decent Pokemon. I like it a lot. Come up next, we have Necrozma. Now, Necrozma does have better forms that we will get on later in the video, but the normal Necrozma form's okay, doesn't really have anything too good going for it, and like I say, does have better forms, which is why it is this low on the list. Next up, we have the last Swords of Justice being Terrakion, and my favourite of the three. I just really like this Pokemon, and that's probably why it's higher than the other two. You know, it doesn't technically have a better typing than Cobalion, but it hits hard with close combat. It's a good dude, which is why it is in this position in the list. Coming up next, we have some newer legendary Pokemon, starting things off with Tapu Fini. Tapu Fini is a very, very good Pokemon. I'm a big fan of it, and it does very, very well in the competitive scene. And like I said, we are getting to the halfway point in this video, so you will start to see the better legendary Pokemon taking spots in today's list. But yes, that is Tapu Fini. Coming up next, we have Tapu Koko, another very good Pokemon, a new legendary as well in Gen 7. But Tapu Koko hits very, very hard with like Discharge and Thunderbolt. Nature's Madness with all of these legendary Pokemon have is amazing as well. The Tapus, obviously. And yes, a very good Pokemon. Next up, we have Tapu Bulu, and again, just like the other Tapus, a very good Pokemon. Hits very hard, and it's a decent Pokemon, got nothing to say about it. But yes, that is Tapu Bulu. Up next is the last Guardian of the Islands in Alola. It is Tapu Lele. I think Tapu Lele is the best out of all the Island Guardians. It seems to be what is used the most in the competitive scene, and for good reason. It's a very, very good Pokemon, and again, got nothing bad to say about this Pokemon. It's just a decent Pokemon in the competitive scene. Coming up next, we have Tornadus. Now, I'm going to put both of Tornadus' forms in the same spot just to make everything easier and more simple. But yes, Tornadus is a very good Pokemon. So far, it is the only single flying type Pokemon, because every other flying type Pokemon does have a dual type. But it's an awesome Pokemon, and I really like this Pokemon, especially because I got a first encounter shiny of it as well. But we won't get into that. Tornadus is just a good Pokemon anyway. Up next we have Thunderous, again both forms very good. The Prankster ability is insanely useful for this Pokemon. It hits super hard, has really good special attack, and I'm a big fan of this genie. Next up we have Kyurem. Now Kyurem again is okay, obviously there's better forms of Kyurem which we will go over later on in this video, but Kyurem at the end of the day, decent Pokemon, big fan, and yeah, it's a good Pokemon at the end of the day. Up next we have another Gen 5 legendary in Zekrom, and yes, it's just a very good legendary Pokemon. It does what it does very, very well. Nothing bad to say about it, it's just a good Pokemon. Next up, another Gen 5 legendary in Reshiram, same as Zekrom really. Very good Pokemon, again, does what it does well. Very, very good at the end of the day. I can't say anything bad about Reshiram. Next up we have Heatran, a very, very good Pokemon. If you have an air balloon on this, as most people do run on it, it does very, very well. Hits very, very hard, has a very, very good typing in Steel and Fire. And yeah, I really do like Heatran, and I think he's a very, very good Pokemon in the competitive scene. Up next we have one of the bulkiest Pokemon around. I'm talking about Cresselia. Everyone knows how annoying it is to go up against this legendary Pokemon. It's just so bulky, it doesn't die, and it's just so annoying to go up against. But it is a good legendary at the end of the day because it does amazingly well as that bulky Pokemon, which is why it is this far up in the list. Next up we have one of the legendary dogs being Entei. Entei is a very good fire type Pokemon. It hits very, very hard, has decent stats across the board, and it's just a very, very good Pokemon at the end of the day, and you know, I really like this Pokemon. Next up we have another legendary dog being Raikou, even though it's a saber-toothed cat, so I don't know why it's known as a legendary dog, but it doesn't matter. Raikou is a very good electric type Pokemon. It's very, very fast, hits hard, it's a very good pivot Pokemon with Volt Switch, like I say, hits hard with like Thunderbolt, stuff like that, Hidden Power Eyes, whatever you want to do. Just a much better version of Jolteon in my opinion. Of course it should be, it's a legendary Pokemon, but yeah, Raikou is a very, very good Pokemon in the competitive scene. Next up we have my personal favourite legendary Pokemon being Suicune. Suicune is a very good Pokemon being just a simple water type Pokemon, meaning it's only weak to grass and electric, but this Pokemon is super bulky. A lot of people do like the rest talk set on this Pokemon because it's so bulky. Get a couple Calm Minds up, have like Scold or Ice Beam or something like that. Just keep resting, keep talking in your sleep, and just keep doing things like that, and it's very difficult to get past. But yeah, Suicune's a very good Pokemon. Next up we have one of the Gen 2 legendary Pokemon being Ho-Oh. Now Ho-Oh would be much higher in this list if it wasn't for Stealth Rocks, taking 50% of this Pokemon's health off every time it switches in, being a fire flying Pokemon. Even though this Pokemon does have that going against it, it's still super bulky, hits super hard, and is still a very, very good Pokemon in the competitive scene. Next up we have a new Gen 7 legendary being Solgaleo. Solgaleo has a very, very good typing, and it has very good stats across the board, has an amazing move pool, has an amazing design, and yeah, I've got nothing bad to say about it. I think it's a very good Pokemon. Next up we have Solgaleo's counterpart being Lunala, the final evolution of Cosmog, just like Solgaleo. And Lunala is a very good Pokemon, hits very, very hard, has a decent typing, of course it is 4 times weak to do different types, which isn't great, but if you get past that, then Lunala is a very good Pokemon. It shines very bright, even though it's kind of like a bat. But yes, it's a very good Pokemon in the competitive scene. Next up we have the Ghost Dragon type Pokemon Giratina, a big favourite of mine, has an amazing shiny Pokemon, hits very, very hard. It's got 2 really cool forms, which I am placing both at this spot just to make things easier. But yes, Giratina is a very good Pokemon. I'm a big fan of its typing, very, very good typing, and yes, I really like Giratina, and it does very, very well. Next up we have Palkia, another Gen 4 legendary Pokemon, and Palkia being a water dragon type Pokemon means that it isn't weak to ice, and it is obviously neutral to like grass and stuff like that, which isn't great, and electric, but it's still decent. I mean, it's got a very, very nice typing. Of course it is weak to fairy though, unfortunately, but it's still a good Pokemon. It hits very, very hard, it gets an amazing move pool, has amazing stats, and I'm a big fan of Palkia. Coming up next we have one of the forms of Kyurem being Kyurem Black. Now this Pokemon is very, very good, has an incredible stat total, hits very, very hard, and I've not got anything bad to say about it. I know I'm repeating myself a lot with that, but we're trying to go through a speed round right here, going through all the legendaries, and there's so many to get through, but Kyurem Black is a good Pokemon in the competitive scene. Next up we have a brand new legendary form to Ultra Sun and Ultra Moon, which is Dawnwing's Necrozma, which is just a better version of Lunala really. Obviously is a Necrozma form, and it obviously has an amazing Z move, has amazing stats. Everything's just going well for Dawnwing's Necrozma, and it's a very good Pokemon. Next up we have Mega Latias, which you probably should have argued that it might have been a little bit lower down on this list, but it is a Mega Pokemon. Very nice bulk to this Pokemon, gets really good setup moves, hits hard, and I really do like Mega Latias, and yeah, I guess it should be a little bit lower, but hey, we all make mistakes, but Mega Latias is still a decent Pokemon, and I like the Pokemon. Next up we have DaHubbz, which has an incredible typing of Steel and Dragon. This Pokemon is incredibly bulky, hits very hard, has amazing stat totals, amazing move pool. Like I said, it's got an amazing typing. DaHubbz just screams great in the competitive scene, and I've not got a bad word to say about this Pokemon. Next up we have Duskmane Necrozma, again the other form of Necrozma. Again, just like the Dawn Wings, very good Pokemon. Probably should have been closer to Dawn Wings than it is, but it's still, like I say, a good Pokemon. Hits hard, has great move pool, great stats, great typing. Everything about this Pokemon is great. Next up we have Landorus, both forms of course, just like I did place the other two forms with the other two genies, but Landorus is a very good Pokemon. Of course it does have that 4 times weak to ice, but it's still with Intimidate, very good, hits hard, pretty fast, very good Pokemon in my opinion, but yeah, Landorus is a great Pokemon in the competitive scene. Next up we have the other half of the Eon duo. I'm talking about Mega Latios, very good Pokemon, fast, hits hard, has some great stat boosting moves such as Dragon Dance, gets some great hard hitting moves as well in this Pokemon, and yeah, just a very good Pokemon in the competitive scene. Coming up next, we have another Gen 2 legendary Pokemon. I'm talking about Lugia, the Guardian of the Sea. This Pokemon is so bulky, it hits hard, gets great reliable recovery, and you can't really say anything bad about this Pokemon. It's just so good, and yeah, Lugia is incredible in the competitive scene. Coming up next, we have the other Kyurem form. I'm talking about Kyurem White. Kyurem White hits so hard on the special side of things. Like, an attack from this thing is gonna make you cry. It has a decent typing, but just that special attack, and it's got so much potential, you know, it's got so many stats across the board, a great move pool. What can't you love about this Pokemon? Coming up next, we have Yveltal. Now, Yveltal is this high up in the list because it is so good in the competitive scene. Oblivion Wing hits so hard, also gives you that reliable recovery back as well. Very good Pokemon, not just Oblivion Wing, but has amazing moves across the board, has amazing stats across the board. I love the design in this thing as well, and it's just such a good Pokemon. Coming up next, we have another 6th gen legendary Pokemon being Xerneas. One word and one word only, Geomancy is what makes this Pokemon so good. Getting that +2 in those stats is incredible. Putting the item on as well, which allows you to just do it in one turn as well. All you need is one turn to get those stats on those Pokemon. It's just kind of broken. Xerneas is just so good. Fairy typing as well is a great ability, and yes, I love this Pokemon. Next up, we have the final form of Zygarde, the 100% form. This thing has so much HP, it doesn't know where to put it in its apartment. This Pokemon is so good. Again, it does have that 4 times weak to ice, but with that much health, I mean, you could take a couple of hits, let's be honest. Such a good Pokemon, it hits hard, and like I said, that HP stat is just ridiculous. I mean, it's a good Pokemon. We're getting pretty far into the list now, nearly at an end, but next up is Primal Groudon, an amazing Pokemon. The auras really bless this Pokemon, this Primal form. It's so good. Having that Desolate Land ability, this Pokemon is good. I mean, I can't say anything bad about it. Not getting hit by Water-type moves when it should be 4 times weak to it. It's just a good Pokemon. Coming up next, I'm talking about the other Primal Pokemon, Primal Kyogre. Again, just like Groudon, getting an amazing form in auras, getting that Primordial Sea as well, basically is just GG's in the chat. This Pokemon hits so hard that you just don't want to be on the wrong end of a Primal Kyogre, but this Pokemon is amazing in the competitive scene and is pretty much broken in my opinion. Coming up next, we have Mega Mewtwo X. Mega Mewtwo X, that Psychic Fighting type Pokemon. Very good. I love the design of it. It hits so hard. I mean, this Pokemon is just so broken. I mean, we're very close to the end of the list, so we're only going to have broken Pokemon. Let's be honest. Mega Mewtwo X, incredible. I haven't got anything bad to say about it. It's just too good. Next up, we have Ultra Necrozma, a brand new legendary in Gen 7, Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon, and we all know how difficult this Pokemon was to go up against in the storyline. I mean, it's just amazingly broken anyway. It's completely broken. It has such a good typing, has such good stats across the board, so many moves at its disposal. It's just such a good Pokemon, and I think I lost about 4 or 5 times going up against it. I'm not going to lie. I had to Toxic Stall it to get past it. My team was getting bodied left, right, and center. Next up, we have Mega Mewtwo Y. We all know how much a Side Strike from a Mega Mewtwo Y does. That stab move, that special attack, the speed, It's just too broke. You can't put that on a Pokemon. So scary. Mega Mewtwo Y is incredibly broken in the competitive scene. Finishing things off though with the best legendary Pokemon in my opinion, I mean it has to be Mega Rayquaza. No wonder it was banned getting the Delta Stream ability, having the Mega Revolution by just using a move. You basically got a Mega Evolved Pokemon and another item on it as well. You can choice Scarf it, choice Band, choice Specs, whatever floats your boat. Life Orbit, do what you want. This Pokemon is incredibly broken and no wonder it was banned because it is just absolutely ridiculous. Mega Rayquaza is by far the best legendary Pokemon and by far the best Pokemon in the game in my opinion. But with that, it does wrap up the video. I really hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did making it. I'm sorry if there was a lot of repetition and stuff in this video. There's so many legendaries to go over and there's only so many words you can say, but I hope you did enjoy it. And if you did, I will be doing some other ranking videos later on in the future. I would also love to hear your guys' opinions too on the subject though. What would be your list? There's a lot of legendaries to go over, but if you do have the time, make a list. I would love to see what you guys have to say. And also, I do have a couple of other videos coming onto your screen in a second, so if you did enjoy this one, be sure to give them a watch if you do have the time. Leave a like if you did enjoy, and remember to subscribe as well if you did enjoy it as well. I do daily Pokemon videos on this channel and daily Pokemon live streams, so if that does sound good, be sure to stick around. That is everything from me though guys, so thank you so much for watching. Have an amazing rest of your day, and until next time guys, peace.